All right, lots to talk about. We'll address it through the show with a varied program. Later on, joining us as we continue our series every third Wednesday, the Blue Prairie Group. Today, joining us will be Wealth Management Advisor Carla Taylor. But we open up right now with a gentleman whose accomplishments are so numerous that I can't spend much time telling you about it. You can go to his website. It's chrisbertram.com, Bertram. He's the author of several books. His expertise is in biology, engineering. He's also in who's who in the world. He's receiving certification at the Clinical Laboratory at UC Berkeley. He's worked in Silicon Valley in the U.S. Mint. He's already done more than I could ever hope to do. The name of his book, getting great acclaim, is Code of Prometheus. Code of Prometheus. It's published in paperback and ebook by Create Space. You can go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. and get a copy of the book. Welcome, Chris. A pleasure to have you on.
Greetings from the West Coast. How are you doing?
Yeah, listen, we're doing well, and I'd love to hear about what you're doing because you're talking about the picture of human origins, and I know it's not directly related, but it's really interesting how after traveling billions of miles over many, many years that we're now actually getting a look at Pluto. And there's always the thought and the excitement of extraterrestrial life. You don't have to specifically talk about that. It's just that I think the timing is great. So tell us about your book based upon your background and why you wrote it.
So on weekends, I was in Silicon Valley. I was working with my boss. He has a PhD in physics from Stanford, and we would look at meteorites. At first, it was hard to get him to do it, and I had some samples, and we looked at them, and we couldn't match the database with some of the meteorites. And so when he got interested, I really got interested. And so it started with meteorites, and then I found references in scientific journals that they were finding fossils in the meteorites going back to the 1800s. And no one talks about that. You don't really find anyone that knows about those references or that line of research and everything. And I thought I would get into it. And the more you look into it, the more you get involved and really excited about it. And there's even more. There's amino acids found in space when you look through telescopes. So there's a lot of information out there.
Yeah, I'm looking at what you've done and these discoveries and testing all these meteorites and amino acids. How come we're not getting more attention on this? This would seem to be a major, major story.
I think so. And there's a lot of references, clippings. I started keeping a file of clippings, and then my file got so big that I had to publish the book, and I could now, when I talk to someone, I could say, well, here's the book, here's all the clippings, you could read it for yourself. And I'm not the only one who believes there's extraterrestrial life out there. You could just run the statistics, and mathematically you could come up with an idea that there's got to be extraterrestrial life out there. You could just look in the stars at night and just wonder that there must be life out there. There's got to be.
Yeah, I'm a believer. You know, I'm a skeptic, but I am a believer because it just does not seem logical. If indeed you want to apply logic to this, you've got pictures of hypothetical alien species that we would encounter if we went somewhere else. What are you basing the looks on? Are you basing it on science, or is this more fabrication and fictional?
Well, I started trying to piece together like what an alien insect would look like, the proteins that and the polysaccharides that they're made of would be the first kind of life form that would arrive. And I was browsing through artist interpretations of aliens, and I came across the best pictures that I thought would match some of the theories in biology that an alien would look like.
You've been doing a lot of research in this glow-in-the-dark jellyfish gene. So what have you discovered?
Well, if you take the gene coding from a jellyfish that makes them glow in the dark, and you put it in a petri dish with E. coli, the E. coli take up the jellyfish gene automatically. and they start glowing in the dark. And so if a meteorite lands on the Earth and there's an E. coli sitting there, which there probably is, the E. coli is going to take up the genes of the meteorite, and so that's how easy it is.
Chris Bertram joining us. The website, again, is chrisbertram.com, Bertram. This is just the kind of stuff that's just fascinating to me and to most people. The book is Code of Prometheus. Yeah. It's published by Create Space. Chris, the author of many books. You can go to his website. You can see them all and get them. What do you think will be the ultimate result of the Mars meteorite that you have, which is amazing, and the testing? How long before you think you'll have some specific information to provide, and do you think you'll uncover something that other people haven't?
Well, some of the first tests are to prove that it is from Mars, so that's the isotope analysis, and I couldn't find a lab that's willing to stick their neck out in the U.S. I had to find a lab in England. So there's still an opposition of disbelief or inertia to get the theory going to even test it. And that's what I'm going through now, is to convince the laboratory that they should test the meteorite.
All right, for people who are listening and saying, well, maybe this guy's a little bit off the wall, I want you to dispute that by virtue of the research you've done and where you've gotten your information and quotations in some sources, so that there's always a small segment that thinks everyone is a quack, and I certainly don't, on the basis of your resume and the work you've done at Berkeley. But what do you do to substantiate the validity of this?
So the first reference I found was in Science, Volume 2, number 50. It's June 11th, 1881. And there's a doctor describing a display of meteorites with fossils in them. And they couldn't place them to any known species at the time. And so when I found that reference, I just kept digging and digging and digging, and I found more and more. And the results all the way go up to the rovers that are going on Mars. They keep finding organic molecules on Mars, water on Mars, clay. And so I think that if we look and we're willing to have an open mind, we can put the pieces together and find out, the big picture.
Are we gaining momentum in understanding how biology is constructed and the origins of life?
I think that everyone is in the scientific field. It really is, and it's helping medicine. It leads to immunology. It leads to bacteriology when we do this type of basic research. And so if we improve our understanding of immunology, for example, it'll lead to maybe we won't need vaccines anymore. Maybe we can just go right after the target bacteria organism, or maybe we can improve the vaccine. There's no way to know exactly how beneficial this research can be.
Do you got time, Chris, for a quick closing comment on the Code of Prometheus? Could you give us a final summary?
So it's written in a dissertation form. It does contain these nice pictures and the theory, and I have a formal hypothesis if anyone is interested. Or you could just read it like a comic book, and it's kind of fun to read.
All right. Once again, the book, getting a lot of acclaim, is called Code of Prometheus. It's published through Create Space. You all know where to get it, paperback and ebook. And how many other books have you written?
I've written one on neural networks, and I'm compiling one now called DNA of the Gods. It's the sequel to Code of Prometheus.
All right. And they can people can get all this information by going to chrisbertram.com, right? That's kind of the place to start?
Yeah.
All right. I want to thank you very much for joining us. Unless you have a quick closing comment. Do you have one?
Just thanks for inviting me. It's just a fascinating topic. I'm excited about the Pluto mission. This is exciting.
All right. Right. Again, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Coda Prometheus, hope to have you back on and talk about this in more detail, especially at a point where you come up with some further information based upon your research. This is Stu Taylor. We'll break and come back, talk about just an atrocious deal, even for a layman like myself to see, and most people would deal with Iran, and why it could spell gloom and doom for everyone. All in the interest of, let's take it after a break. This is